I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there. Let's now look at how generative AI, comes into the home mix. What threats does generative AI bring, such as the chat GPT? That's the big buzz. Everybody's rushing to use that. What do you think the threats are, if there are any, to using generative AI?
Yeah. What ChatGPT is bringing to the table is it's like an expert in your pocket. So for somebody who's trying to be malicious, if I had to say, please write me a email. I want to use it to trick Sarah into clicking on a link. Sarah is in the industry of doing podcasts. This is her favorite things. Please craft a very convincing email. It can do that for me, rapidly. So if I want to exploit a firewall, for example, I could say, and again, people are so creative that if you say, I want to hack a firewall, ChatGPT will respond and say that it is illegal to hack. I cannot assist you. But if you're saying that I want to secure my firewall, please tell me what the common weaknesses are, it will give you the gaps. And then if you ask, how could bad guys take advantage of these gaps as I want to protect it, it will tell you all of the things you need to know. So you actually see that I see these new job titles now called prompt engineers. It's people that actually focus on writing ChatGPT prompts. Um, and what it does, it's giving lots of information, potentially malicious information, to everybody who asks. And I think from a cybersecurity perspective, it has now expanded the pool of potential attackers. I think that is
Mm,
essential. I don't. My personal view is that malicious people that's in the business of doing these things, they've got the skills, so they can write code and they can do things. ChatGPT just adds a little bit of speed to the process. It adds a little bit of speed, and it probably brings in a few more people that's now wanting to play as well. At the same time, from the good guys' perspective, we can use it for similar purposes, right? So we could say, write me a script to detect a weakness here, or write me a script to pick up or block something like this. So I've recently used it. I play with it a little bit, and I say, here's some code, find some vulnerabilities in there for me, and it can do that. Obviously, the degree of accuracy remains questionable at this point. It's still in a testing version. Um, but I think in short, it's going to rattle some cages. But from a security perspective, what is important is we need to be on top of things. So your business is going to want to explore and play with ChatGPT, and you cannot say no, it's not safe to do so. And maybe on the topic of not safe to do so, ChatGPT was also breached recently. So it suffered its first data breach not too long ago. Actually, Samsung employees posted up some code in there, and somebody was able to replay the code. So what you put in there, certainly ChatGPT and the employers, they are somebody, people have access to it. So don't put highly sensitive things in there. If you're wanting to use it for business purposes, the API option would be your safest bet, because then it's an enterprise solution. Um, yeah, so I think as a security team, by now it's been out for 3, 4, 5 months. Maybe the buzz has been around it. So you should have already established now policies around it to say, in my organization, we may use it, but these are the guidelines. You may not put sensitive data in there. You also
mm,
have technology that can assist you to from prevent people from pasting sensitive data in there. Because remember, you also find that people paste their policies in there and they say, optimize the policy for me, or they put their CV in there and they say, make my CV more uh, suitable for this role. But your CV might contain your ID number, and then there goes your information. So we should understand that whatever we put in there, we are putting out in the world, and it now becomes the property of open AI. But yeah, I think we must embrace it. I think there's a lot of opportunities. There's probably more opportunities than threats in it. But from a security organization perspective, policy would be the first point. We must have very clear policies, and we must educate. So the same way we educate people, don't click on the link, don't share your password. We should also be educating people about what is the best practices for using these AI tools. I don't think preventing people is the answer, because then you're preventing innovation, or you're
Mm.
crippling innovation in the organization. Um, Two good documents, if the listeners want to delve into it a little bit more. Within the last week or so, the Cloud Security Alliance released quite a decent write up on ChatGPT and the opportunities and threats therein, and they gave a nice breakdown of what are the threats, what are the opportunities. And then Cisco also has what is called the Responsible AI Framework, which is quite decent. And then for the more technical listeners, the MITRE, the MITRE attack framework, they've got something similar for AI. It's called Atlas. It's the adversarial threat landscape for artificial intelligence systems, and it basically maps out all of the different threats and potential mitigations that we should be thinking of when it comes to AI, and the threats and opportunities that come with it.
Beautiful, beautiful, and well explained. I think that's a lot of value that people will find. Because that's always the conversation, especially for people who are non-technical. There's always this fear to actually say, these things are unsafe because once you put your information there, you become more vulnerable. But then I also wanted to just sort of bring a regular question in terms of people sharing their information online. To what extent? I know that there are people who are very uh, quite scared to even share an email, for example. So, is an email address a vulnerability at a personal level? If it's sitting on Facebook or LinkedIn, what would be your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so Sarah, I think your name and your surname is obviously out there. If you're on Facebook, that's out there. What your email address, the reason why we want to limit who has it is, the more people who have it, the more people is able to send you something malicious and potentially target you. So I say that when it comes to sharing information with people, with websites, with anything, treat it like going on a first date. When you go on a first date, imagine you go on a first date and it's somebody you just met, and he starts asking you what's your ID number, where do you live, what's your date of birth. You will provide that information. It will be very weird to give all that kind of info out. So why then give it out? Just because a site is asking for it. If you are on Facebook, and you are just browsing, you register with the minimum info they need, your name, your surname, and your email address, and nothing more. But you also see people putting their whole home address in there, their school history, and the whole pedigree, and it's not needed for that site. So definitely treat it like a first date. Question, why do you need this? I went into a retail store the other day, and I paid cash, and they asked me for my ID number. And I said, why do you need it?
Mm,
They said, no, we want to see if
mm,
we can give you rewards. I said, no, I don't want rewards. I'm not about to read my ID number loud in a retail store for you to check if I can get rewards. But we should understand that our information has value,
mm.
and we should start treating it as such. Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful, and very practical. So then, where do you think the biggest friction is when it comes to the customer experience and the e-commerce?
Yeah, I actually touched on this one earlier, so I'll just quickly recap. The biggest point of friction is the identity. It's the customer identity. It's the logon
Mm,
process. So you find that at that point, um, I know, for example,